and good day, Welcome to episode number 2 of the Super Good Camping Podcast. I'm Pamela.
And I'm Tim.
And we're here to talk about camping. Today we thought we would talk a little bit about how to choose the perfect campsite. Tim spends a fair bit of time on our behalf finding us the very best campsites every single year. So I'm going to turn it over to him and let him walk through his process of how he chooses the very best campsites.
Okay, it's not an exact science, but a lot of the factors that I look for would be at least partial shade on the site. So if you can find pictures, that's ideal. Although with the Ontario Provincial Parks website, they have pretty decent descriptions. They also label things like whether you have good privacy, what kind of condition the site's in, what kind of slope there is. Slope's very important. If you have a dish in the middle of your campsite and that's where you plunk your tent, you're going to be floating at some point. So you want good drainage in your site. I do make a point of looking that it's a decent size, but it also has plenty of space for my neighbors. That's part of the concept of getting out camping, is to get away from other people as well.
I'm going to just chime in and mention that a couple of us are redheads, and therefore we don't appreciate the full sun sites because that means no shade and sunburns.
This is very true. Also, you want to look around your site around the sites that you're considering for things like how close to the roadways, because we're talking about car camping here and people drive in. If you're near the entrance to a campground, you're going to get a lot of traffic going past your sites. So again, you've got noise, potential dust, that sort of jazz. You want to look around at what other natural features are around. For sake of argument, if you've got a body of water, like do you want to be close to the lake? A quick little scoot through a path and you're there for swimming or what have you. That's often pretty cool. Again, sometimes you get traffic. People aren't always paying attention to privacy and stuff when they troop through your site. Can get a little bit annoying. If you were to find some sort of marshy area nearby, some of the redheads are very prone to getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, so don't camp near marshy areas.
Mosquitoes think we're yummy for sure.
Yeah, those are some of the good ones.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've enjoyed about some of the campsites that we've had has certainly been some of the natural landscape around us. We're going to talk a little bit later about Killbear Provincial Park, which was our second, as a family, it was our second camping expedition. And we had a lovely campsite there that was full of ferns all around the back of the site, and the boys thoroughly enjoyed running around and playing kind of hide and seek throughout the ferns.
Yeah, it was like a waist-high sea of ferns. It was very cool.
And as much as we spend several months often finding the perfect campsite, my brother, who came camping with us one year, actually booked his about a week or two before he arrived, and he had an awesome site. It backed right onto the lake. He just had to go a little trail, and he was right on the lake. So much to our chagrin, the fact that we had spent so much time and energy finding exactly the right site, he had an even better one with booking it just a couple weeks in advance.
It happens.
The booking site, too, just to mention the Ontario Provincial Park site, that's where we book our sites through. There is a policy where you can book 5 months in advance. So we usually attempt to do that just so that we do get the site that we prefer the best, and that it's something that people don't always realize that you can book it that far in advance. And some people will take advantage of the booking site as well.
So there's a bit of a dodge, unfortunately. Camping in Ontario is an extremely popular activity, and there are only so many campsites, especially in the better parks. You can book any given car campsite, I believe, for 23 consecutive days. Your booking is, earliest you can book is 5 months from your first day. So if you actually were to back up, let's say for sake of argument, you're going camping for 7 days. If you backed up by an additional 16 days and booked that as your first day, and then booked all the way through to the end of the week that you intended to camp, and then a month from now you canceled that first 16 days, you can actually book 2 weeks and change ahead of anybody else who's looking for that same time slot. So it's a bit sleazy thing to do, but lots of people do it. So it's that's why I research the crap out of our sites so far ahead. Like for sake of argument, if we're going camping in July, I'm actually looking now in November, but certainly before Christmas, I generally have it pinned down.
The other thing I appreciate in a campsite is relatively close to a washroom, although we don't want to be right next to one either, because then you get people constantly coming and going into the washroom. We like to be not too far from the water taps either, because we fill up a huge jug with water and it's heavy when it's full. So it's a lot to lug if you're far from the water tap. I think those are the main things that we like. Comfort stations at the provincial parks are quite nice, although this past summer they were closed because of COVID.
Yeah.
They're nice because you can shower. There's a laundry facility there if you want to do laundry.
And again, we try not to camp, too close to them, and enough that they're convenient, jump on a bike and go kind of a deal. But the constant, doors banging closed, or just, people coming and going, listening to somebody's laundry tumbling away. It's not high on my list of things I like to do.
So that's it as far as choosing a campsite, I think, unless you had any other input, Tim. So Killbear is the park I mentioned earlier, was our second. So Tim has done extensive camping before we met, but our second trip as a family, we went to Killbear Provincial Park, which is on Georgian Bay, which if you've never been, it's really beautiful. So we've camped at a couple of provincial parks that were on Georgian Bay, and it's really, every time it's quite lovely. There's beautiful granite rock. If you've ever heard of the Group of Seven, which is a famous Canadian group of artists, and you think of the style of their paintings, often they were painting the area around Georgian Bay. The beautiful pines that are being moved by the wind, and the granite rock that they painted. So anyway, that's a bit of what we like about it, is just the beauty of the natural landscape. Killbear Provincial Park is actually located on a point, or a peninsula, which was called Killbear Point for 140 years. Apparently it was named by the Ojibwe people. There was various history, again, to this particular park, which we always enjoy learning about the history. It was opened as a provincial park in 1960, and so many of the people that camp there still are people that have camped there their entire lives, pretty much. But we loved it. We loved the natural landscape. We loved our particular campsite because of the ferns that were all around us. We had pretty decent privacy when we were there as far as the campsite itself. So it was a really positive experience for us at Killbear, I believe. Did you have any other input about?
No. So there's a Tom Thompson painting. It's a granite rock with a windswept pine on it. And I actually think that was painted in Algonquin Park. I wouldn't bet my life on it. But there is so many snapshots in and around Killbear that look just like that. And for me, it's gorgeous. Gray and sometimes a bit of pink granite. Pines are very very prolific there. They did have, I want to say maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, they ran into, I believe it was emerald ash borer, and they had to cut down a boatload of trees, unfortunately, so it got thinned out, but it's a gorgeous park.
Yeah, so a lot of our privacy that we enjoyed while we were there, unfortunately, wasn't there for subsequent people. And there was a couple of parks where that happened, where we went there one year and enjoyed it. It was lovely and beautiful, and then something happened shortly after. There were fires at another one of the provincial parks.
I blame it totally on the children.
So our kids aren't here to defend themselves. Anyway, so that's it for us. Just to maybe recap, choosing a campsite that we would like one that's well drained, that it's going to not be a big boggy mess if it happen to get rain while you're there.
Yeah, or you don't want a great big chunk of granite in the middle of your site where you can't stake your tent down.
Sometimes when they're very rocky, it's very difficult to get the tent pegs to go in.
Yeah.
You'd like some privacy, but you want to be relatively close to amenities if possible too. So you'd like to be not too far from swimming if you enjoy swimming. You want to be able to get to a washroom or a comfort station. You would like to be able to access the front desk of the park if you need.
Yeah, and one of the things we look for is in a park period is dog beach, and we try to, if possible, with so much criteria, but if possible, we try to be as close as we can get to that, just so that we can get Farley out as often as possible.
So Killbear, actually, we went with our previous dog, Cookie, and one of the things, I actually forgot to mention this, but one of the things we loved about Killbear was we went down to the beach, and then we were kind of able to hike around the corner from the regular beach, and we found this little private section of sand, nice sandy beach, where hardly anybody else was there, but the odd other person would come down with their dog, and Cookie just loved it. She loved racing across the sand with the other dogs, and it was great for us too. We had this little sort of private beach area where it was quiet and secluded.
Yeah, and we got good wind coming off Georgian Bay. We're going back quite a few years, but I remember the kids flying kites and stuff while we were down there too.
Right.
That was good fun.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it for us today. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We are at hi@supergoodcamping.com. So that's hi@supergoodcamping.com. And we'd love to answer any questions that you might have about camping. Take care.
Stay safe.
Bye, everyone.